with something pretty simple. Make sure that you have two handouts in front of you, one a dashboard and the other the presentation for this afternoon. And just to let you know, we did get out a little bit early from our last opportunity with K-2 teachers. I see that same thing happening here, so those people that are wanting to root on the Hoosiers tonight have that opportunity, right? Okay, all right, so awesome. Some people are like, are they playing? Yes, there's a big game tonight. The whole stadium IU will be red, so it'll be a great aerial shot because they're playing Ohio State, which is also red, so it will look like the Hoosiers have made it big tonight. So I'll be there, and that'll be exciting for me. So make sure you have those two documents. Today's presentation is an informal opportunity for us to talk about some things that are happening at the district level. You'll also notice that there's chocolate on there, so if you start getting stressed, just start popping that in quickly. That goes straight into your bloodstream, and that's good. That's not enough, Laura's saying. So you'll also hear me talking about certain people in the room. If I say Courtney and I say Laura, it's all those people that we've worked together so many times, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. You'll also notice sticky notes in front of you. Take notes and or ask questions on those. There will be times for us to gather those and answer those questions. Again, an informal process today. If we need to make changes, we will. You'll hear us say over and over again how if something's not right, we'll fix it. This is an opportunity for you to say, hey, have you guys thought about this? Or, what's going on with this? Or tell me more about this, and we will address those. We'll put those in a frequently asked questions sheet as well, but we want to get those answered while you are here with us today. So don't hesitate to write down and say, we're 4 weeks into school, why are we just hearing about that? That came out K-2, and we'll address that. You'll see where are these resources that you're talking about. Some things we'll answer along the way, but don't hesitate to jot it down, and if we answer it, just pitch it. Again, it's those questions and those opportunities for this informal discussion so we can talk about what's happening this year as a district focus. Make sure you signed in. There's a stipend that will be coming your way, so if you didn't get a chance to sign in, make sure you do that. That's very important. So we'll go ahead and get started. Let's see, third grade teachers, wave at us. All right, there they are. Look around. Those are your friends. Third grade. Fourth grade. There, those fourth grade. Fifth grade. Okay, and sixth grade. All right, waving around. Wave your hands if you've already traded chocolate with somebody else. I said, I know she stole the chocolate. Yeah, we're not happy with whatever was those Tootsie Roll things. Forget the Snickers. So, yeah, feel free to move around if you need to do that. New teachers, wave if you're new to us in the district this year. Two? Exactly. That's phenomenal. Thanks, Alex and Sarah, for being here. We want to make sure that we recognize how hard it is for teachers in general, especially new teachers. And what do we do to support those incoming people? Because we were all there, but I can say as being a teacher 16 years, and a principal for 9, and in this role for the last 3, things have changed. So when I talk about my teaching experience with Jeannie, I know I'm out of it now. Even though I'm a teacher at heart, too much has happened, too many things are changing. So my experiences are different than what you're going through now. We want to make sure that we support our new teachers, and out of 300 teachers at the elementary level, 150 of them have 5 years lesser experience. Think about your own staff. Think about the people around you in your own team. And so why is that important? That when we talk about a district focus, we have people on your team that have the wisdom and the guidance and have been there for those people who are just starting on. With people that are just coming into the field, we know their first year, they're truly just looking around saying, how do I do this? They have wonderful skills and they're awesome because they have that passion, that energy, but sometimes it takes a while to get grounded. Would you agree? That it takes sometimes a year, 2 years, 3 years, sometimes for many of us 10 years, and people are still like, can you not figure this out? So it takes us a while to get grounded as teachers. And so supporting our new teachers or new to the grade level. I'm going to stress that, new to the grade level. Jeannie going to a new grade level has to be supported. She has to be supported because even though she knows teaching, she has tools, she knows the ones maybe above where their skills are going, she may be taught below, she may not know that exact grade level. And so she has to have the guidance and the wisdom of those people around her saying, this is what we're doing, and why. And using that experience and that knowledge to help guide the work. And when we do that, when we go Parkside, Schmidt, Smith, Taylorsville, we're talking about a systems approach now. We're talking about all 11 schools being able to band together, come together, and say, what's the focus that we're working on? You'll hear the people that are working with us today talk about that systems approach, meaning we have a common vocabulary, we have a common language, we have a common way to assess. Oh, wait a minute, so we're going to do common assessments? Yes, we are. Made by the district? Yes, we are. We'll talk about that today. But again, it's that systems approach where everyone at least has an inkling of knowledge of what we're focusing on this year at the district. And I think the things that we picked on for 3 to 6, which is comprehension, you're already engrossed in, you're already doing, nothing there should be new. So when someone says, why are we just learning about comprehension in 3 to 4 weeks? You've already been doing it. So don't panic that you may feel like we're already 4 weeks in, why are we just finding out about this common goal? It's computation and comprehension. I know as strong teachers, you're already doing that, okay? So that's when we're talking that systems approach. No matter if we're coming from Parkside to Taylorsville to Smith, which you guys know, we have a lot of mobility. We lost 1,000 kids last year, lost them, and we gained back about 750 in some capacity in different ways. Kids are moving a lot. Dr. McCormick, if you heard her talk last night, she talked about kids that are bouncing around for whatever reason. We need to make sure that when those kiddos are bouncing from Rock Creek to Smith to Taylorsville, that we have that district kind of look. Oh, does that mean we're all going to teach the same? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, though, a district focus that we can say is important for our kids to have in their back pocket, teachers to be developed around, and for all of us to understand what the expectation is. Not only the expectation for students, for teachers, but also administrators, and also ourselves at the district level. We want to hold ourselves accountable, and that's that systems approach. Whenever we hold ourselves accountable, you can say, hey, Laura, you said you were going to do this, and I can say, you're right, we did, I'm on it. And then do it. So there's that piece that you're going to see today. It's very well spelled out, very well outlined of what that looks like in a systems approach. So again, I want to thank you. I want to thank the people behind me that are here. I want to thank the principals that come, because again, without their leadership and without that instructional guidance from them in the buildings, we need it. And you'll hear me say, and I've said this before, anyone that went to IU in the 80s, raise your hands. Anyone go to IU? Okay, so those people that went to IU with me in the 80s, we did whole language. Did we? Yeah. And the philosophy and the pedagogy there was read lots. Read lots and lots and lots and lots. And if a kid doesn't get it, have them read some more. That's that whole language kind of approach. That did work for some, it didn't work for all. And so whenever we talk about UDO, meeting kids skill by skill, kid by kid, where they are, that's what we're talking about. But the whole language may not be the best approach for everyone. And so we want to give you those skills and those tools that if a little guy is coming to you in 4th grade and is reading at a 1st grade level, what do? It's happening, right? You're not going to tell me that's not happening, because I'm hearing from you guys saying, I've got a 5th grader that I just don't know what to do with, and I get that. I was there 16 years as a teacher. I know the struggles. Are they different? And I want to acknowledge that, absolutely, because you're dealing with things that I probably didn't whenever I was a teacher. But I want to acknowledge that still we have to dig into what works educationally, philosophically, and with our pedagogy of what we know about kids and learning. So that's when we're talking about a systems approach, why it's so important that we stay on the same page with some of the strategies that we're going to try. And we'll give you those strategies, and we'll talk about that today. But the why, again, of why are we doing this? Because we need it. I've been in the district, Candy, you've been in the district for a while, that you can say, we really haven't had a solid push on strategies, a solid push on what are we really trying to accomplish, a solid push on where are we going for the year. And that's what we're giving. We're giving that outline, we're giving that overview of what are we trying and what are we doing. Oh, so I don't have to do some of the other stuff? That's not what we're saying. Critical standards are still important, and we're still going to focus on critical standards. But what we're really focusing on for the district that we can have a common language around is computation and comprehension. And that's, again, what we're going to be talking about and focusing on today. Write down your questions, ask along the way. We're very transparent, we're very honest, If we don't know it, we'll find out. We'll get it to you. If we took a swing and we missed, we'll let you know that too. Because again, we cannot do it without your help. And that's what we're here to do. So I'm going to turn it over to Katie now. Please give these teachers a great round of applause because they've been working hard to make this happen for today and for our K2 teachers. And for those of you that don't know, Katie's only with us a short time until October. She will be heading to China then. So she's here to help. We have Kirsten who's here to help and Delaney. So they're going to share their knowledge and experience. Don't forget, write down anything. We'll get it answered.
Yes, so thank you all for being here today. I know we were here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so we're feeling it. It feels like day by week probably for some of us in the room. But today we're really prioritizing 3rd through 6th grade. We pulled K-2 together and had a really great conversation around the critical standards that we're focusing on at the district level. And so we're hoping that by gathering us together as a system today, and as you can see, lots of schools represented, we can have that same conversation today. And we just want to reiterate that this is not a one-time and we'll never see you all again. So there's a couple ways to keep up to date with this work. One, the BCSE Focus newsletter. This has been going out since last year, but for those of you who are new to grade level, this is something that comes out from the district quarterly, and this is where a lot of information comes from, reminders, resources. It's definitely something to keep your radar out for. So it will be out next week. And so the newsletter highlights different things from Wonders, HMH, growth model reporting, things from the district, push out from information just like you get in your buildings. It's just kind of a district overview. So be looking for those. We are starting a BCSE Teachers Facebook group. It is one that you have to join. We're not going to go stalk you and make you join unless you're our friend, and then we're going to come find you and make you join. No, I'm just kidding. But it is a BCSE Facebook group. It's BCSE Teachers. You can look for it, and we're going to be posting pictures. Hopefully you guys can comment and share, and really trying to gauge what are we doing in our classrooms in BCSE. And that's been a great trial for us to be able to go out to classrooms and visit. And those of you who have welcomed us, thank you. If you are like, yes, I'll totally take you to video, or we're going to be doing this, come take pictures. We would love that. We would love to be able to highlight what's happening in BCSE and share more. And since most people are on social media scrolling at the end of the night, I feel like that's just one other way we can connect with you. The other is Power Up, which is specifically for 3rd grade teachers. So those of you who raise your hand in 3rd grade, you're going to be getting more information about this date. That's September 26th. It's a half day. And we're going to be focusing on 3rd grade. You guys are a pivotal grade level. We know you kind of transition from that foundational skills to intermediate, and we know that's a lot of weight. And we would love to talk and share and have some of that 3rd grade group come together and really dive into what that looks like for you all. So September 26th, be looking for information from us about that date. 3rd grade. I'll say that again. Lastly, we mentioned questions. We put Post-its out on a table. We're going to be taking 2 major breaks, but in those breaks, what worked most effectively on Tuesday was really, as you're going through and you're hearing things, write questions down, and then we'll just collect all those, and we literally just kind of ran through like a town hall and just, this is the question, this is the answer, or this is what we'll have to look up about this answer and get back to you. So anything's fair game on the Post-it. So in between each break, write down your questions, and we'll run through them all. And truly, any question is a great question, just like you would tell your kids. So, moving on to today's agenda, I think Dr. Hack highlighted the why, but we have been working since this summer when we looked at data from the district on growth model and ISTEP and iRead and just all the data that comes in, and we were looking at how we could align some of our district work. We know there's so much work going on, but not necessarily work that's happening at Mount Healthy is happening at Southside, at Richards, at Rock Creek. We thought, how can we align all of our work to really have a common language that we're all trying to push the needle on this? So that's where this all started. And from that work, we were able to pull teachers together this summer. You're going to be able to look at the work that happened from this summer and give us feedback, of course, as always, with your questions, and then we'll go from there. But that's we're going to highlight all of that work today. So we're going to go back and forth between what our ELA dashboard looks like and what our math dashboard we're also going to be able to get our eyes on those Q1 assessments. We know everybody wants to know, well, what is it going to look like? What is that? What do I need to do for my students when that window opens on September 25th? So that second session, we will get into the resources, look at the assessments, again, take notes, questions, and we will go back through that feedback protocol. And then just like on Tuesday, there were some concerns with one of the assessments. And we looked at that, took feedback, and we're like, of course, don't print anything today. The window doesn't open until September 25th. But we were able to get feedback from those grade level teams and say, oh, we could add this to that assessment. So your feedback is valuable. Don't feel like we're not taking that into account. So we will do that at the very end. So today, 2 things to walk out of here. Definitely knowing your 3 to 6 district goals in ELA and math and the strategies that we're focusing on this year. We want to reiterate that while we have developed strategies, some of them are very specific, like close reading is seconds. Others, there are choices in there. But we're going to go through and talk about that as we get through the dashboard, and that's really on the
And then 73% of 3rd through 6th grade students will pass or pass plus the ELAS credit. That is our target for next year.
So this again brings back that question. I've been a 6th grade teacher, 5th grade teacher, 4th grade teacher for many, many moons. And knowing that my background was whole language, I wanted to read books and not use the basal. Because not only was that what I was familiar with, it's what my passion was. And so when we think about our new teachers, again, starting, half of them being new to reading maybe 5 years or less, the basal gives that foundational skill that we know is research-based. We're not saying it's the only thing we can use. Could it be the only thing you use? Sure. Do you want to supplement at some point? Yes. And this is where our intermediate teachers get a little tight when they start thinking about it, because we love the literature books that we expose kids to. I read Where the River Grows for 15 years in a row. I know that. You knew when the dogs were dying because I had the lights off, Kleenex is out. It's because it's so passionate. But when Pat Moran, Chris Smith would come to me and say, how do you know what you're doing is effective? Again, many months ago, 20 years ago, things are different. I could say, because no, I got it. I got the vocabulary. We talk about theme. Look at the dogs are dying. Look, the kids are crying. They're engaged. And they were. But was it the right work? That's the question. And that's when we have to start digging in. We have an adopted resource that we know is the right work. And so if you use that as your basis, based on what you're teaching in reading, you're going to have a better chance of getting in the ballpark with our students. We also have those components of WonderWorks for students who might struggle, and then we can enrich on the other end of that. So please think that adopted resource is as the main component of your reading, unless there is some compelling challenge or some compelling reason why that shouldn't be happening. And then that's a conversation. This is not a gotcha. I'm not going to walk around when Jean's reading Where the River Goes. I'm going to go, are you serious? Did I not just talk about this? Why are you still doing that? Because that's okay. That's part of her work. She also then can say, but I'm reading this out of the base, or I'm working on this, or we're working on this for a short time. Again, a different part from what I taught. We would teach Where the River Goes for 6 weeks. That's unacceptable. Kids reading out of one book, round robin, 6 weeks. I want to go back to those kids and say, I know you loved it, and I loved it too, but I may have missed some opportunities with you. So think about that as teachers, what we need to do for best practices. It's in that basal resource, and you can do that and supplement as needed. The other piece that we want to make sure Smeckens, those of you that have been to those workshops, you know the power of those. Now is the time when you look at your administrator, wherever they're sitting around the room, and say, hey, I'd like to go to a conference. Because, and hint, I just gave them dollars yesterday. Oh, Darren saying it's gone, don't even ask. So we do have some opportunities for some resources, okay? So if you want that, you need that, if you want to know where they're coming next in Indiana, or where they're presenting next in Indiana, check it out. That's a strategy that we're talking about this year. Man, it'd be great to hear from the real person, right? So think about those opportunities. Don't forget Marjorie Hooten dollars, $200 to everybody in this room. All you have to do is ask. It comes through me. I'm almost guarantee you're going to get it. You remember 250. There's another plug for Delta Kappa Gamma. So use those resources. Get out there and see what's happening. Get online. I know you guys already do this, but that's where we're plugging those things. The constructive responses again, and then the assessment vocabulary. We want you to use those on your common assessments. Why? Because again, kids are going to see those. And it's common language. When Rosanna's using that at Parkside, and then that little guy moves to Southside, there's a connection. They already are seeing those words on their common assessments. It's not, what does that mean? What's that word mean? They already have a foundation that's been built. If you check out the K-2, we're asking them to do the same thing. Use that common language. So when they get to Stephanie's room, those little guys already know what those words mean. She's not having to reteach that portion. Okay? So I just want to hit on this again. 80% real-time data. 80% will be the same at Richards, that will be the same at Fodger, that will be the same at Mount Healthy. Why? Because it's real time. 80% of your little guys should be passing that benchmark assessment on September the 26th. When you get it. That will tell you if they're on target to being on grade level and mastering that critical standard. Who created those assessments? We did. People in this room. Do not cover your eyes at this point and say, oh, please. It's okay. If we tried it and it's not effective, don't you do that in your own classrooms with PLCs? You get an assessment like, oh, I didn't miss the mark. You might miss the mark, but at least you're in the ball. So don't hesitate to let us know that this time assessment's too rigorous or we need to be a little bit harder. They're going to build on each other. So the first one will be easier. It's not in their expectation. Okay? So again, it won't be end of year, it'll be real time. That's why we want 80% of your little guys pass, no matter what school. Right? And then the other is the 70%, 73%. This is a district goal. If you are at Mount Healthy, if you're at Richards, if you are at Linden, that could be a different goal based on their school. If you were already at 75, that would be a good goal. So that's why, again, your principals are creating those school improvement plans. And that's why you have to connect with Jay, whoever your principal is, and say, what's our goal? I think we need to know that. And they'll share those plans with you. Write your questions down because we're going to take a break here in a minute. And that's a great time for us to say what you think we talk about.
This year, no. We're focusing on 1, 4, and 6, which are perseverance, modeling, and precision. And those are going to be focused on with the principals. And then also at our district workshops, Kirsten and I are going to have a track that you can go through, and we will be focusing on those 3 process standards and going in depth on them. Again, like ELA, you're going to be using the assessment vocabulary in your common assessments. The only difference with math assessment vocabulary is there is only 1 sheet for 3 through 6. So in ELA, every grade level has their own assessment vocabulary. 3 through 6 shares an assessment vocabulary sheet, and it's linked at the end of this resource, this slideshow, and it is on BCSE Connect as well. And then 80% of, that's supposed to say 3-6, sorry, students will score an 80 or above on the computation standards for the district benchmark. Just like they said, it's where they are, real-time data, the end of quarter 1, where they should be. 80% of your students should be passing that assessment. And then 70% of 3rd through 6th grade students will pass or pass plus math. I'm so sorry. I will fix those. Okay?
Okay, so real quickly, we're going to run through a couple of slides and just talk about the accountability/responsibility piece of this. We're going to kind of tell you what the district's going to be accountable for, what the administrators are going to be accountable for, the students, and then the teachers as well. So as far as district goes, Dr. Hack's going to be having very focused conversations with the administrators about looking at the data when we get it, seeing where do we go from here, real time, like she said. We're going to have conversations and say, this is where we are, how do we move forward from here? We are creating a look-for document for principals so that when they're coming into your rooms, they will know what to look for these district focus. It is not like okay, what, do they yes have it, no they don't. It's just so that we're developing the administrators so that they know when I walk into this classroom, because they may not have 3 to 6 experience. So they may not have a lot of experience in that particular grade level for what they should be looking for these standards. Pivot, we talked about that. The predictor test is the only one that is required. The other 3 are optional. Creating quarterly benchmark assessments, which we have done for quarter 1. Again, we're going to look at those a little bit later, get some feedback, and we are going to then use that feedback to move on from there. They are end of quarter, so keep that in mind as well. Embed assessment vocabulary into those benchmark assessments. So that's something maybe to look at and say, hey, maybe there's an opportunity to put in an assessment vocabulary word here where it's not where it should be, and that's something that we can add. And then sharing assessment vocabulary, which we have linked and you have.
Okay, administrator accountability for the principals. Are develop administrators on comprehension and computation in the classroom. So we're going to be doing PD with the principals that we do with you guys at the district workshops. They're going to have focused conversations with their teachers using the data that you guys put into those spreadsheets that you will have. We haven't shared them with you yet. They're going to utilize look-fors and focused questions. So we have created look-for documents that the principals will have. They're getting those on the next principals meeting, and they will share them out with you. We will share them out with you. It's not a secret. We're not trying to do a gotcha like Laura said. You are going to know what they're looking for when they're walking into your classroom. They are also going to think strategically about teacher movement and making sure that people have resources that they need in that grade level if they get moved from one to another. We are resources, you have resources in your building. We're just going to make sure that we're thinking very strategically before we move teachers from grade level to grade level. And then the other one is student accountability, and they are going to be creating and monitoring their own goals around these standards. So we have some examples of student goal sheets that we're going to put into the It's Learning course that you guys can use. I know teachers have their own student goal sheets, tracking sheets, whatever you guys have in your classrooms already. Great, use those. You don't have to use the ones that we put in there. They're just another resource for you guys, okay?
Okay, so teacher accountability. Here are the things. Utilizing the adopted resource. We've already kind of talked about that a lot. The big point here, a couple of these are going to touch on the same thing, and that is we want the PLC to be the catalyst for this work. We want to make sure that you're sharing best practices and strategies during your PLC meeting. You're saying, this worked, this didn't, I tried this, what do we need to do? Using intentionality when you are looking at assessment vocabulary during your instruction, and your common assessment creation when you're doing that, if you're doing that in your PLC. Reviewing growth of each student and providing additional support and or enrichment. Again, the catalyst is the PLC. You're sitting in there talking about those questions. What do we do when they get it? What do we do when they don't? And making sure that you're using that strategically. We want you to focus on reading comprehension weekly. Most of you do that anyway. When you're teaching almost anything in reading, it's dealing with comprehension. So that should just be, yeah, we're already doing that. That's it. That should be kind of an easy one. You're reporting quarterly on these standards. We talked about growth model for 4th grade and then the pilot 5th grade group. The standard is different than the 3rd grade. Now, we didn't go deeply, I don't think, into why, but we had very deep conversations this summer. If we kept it the RN and RL 2.1, we would have had to add that standard to the 4th grade and the 5th grade pilot report card. We did not want to put more work on you for this year. So we said the 2.2 for RN and RL, it focuses on comprehension as well. It's theme and I don't remember the R and summarizing. So we thought those standards could totally encompass comprehension. So those are the standards we want 4 and 5 to report on quarterly. We didn't want to add more work, especially because it's beginning for 4th grade and pilot 5th grade. And then the last thing, we want you conferencing with students about their goals. The students are going to set goals and monitor goals. We want to make sure that you're conferencing with them and you're talking to them about why they're not quite there yet, or what we can do to take it further.
So again, what Kirsten said was the way that we're looking at comprehension this time is theme and summarizing. Okay? That's correct. Summarizing. That doesn't mean that we don't fully embrace plot, story elements, all those other things, but this is the focus of the district that we're working on so we can narrow in what we want to talk about. So don't think I'm just going to focus on those only this year. You still have the critical standards that you're working on, but it's that focus for the district that I'll be working on with Chris and Dan and Jay and Amy whenever I talk with them and we look at that data. The other piece of this is the PLC process. You already know through the PLC process, question number 1 is what do we want kids to know? Question number 2 is what do we do when they how are we going to assess them? There's a big piece of it that I consider 1.A, which is how are we going to teach it? That again comes from you guys and your teams working together to say, remember what we did last year? It was great. We need to redo that. Or, kids really struggled with that. What are we going to do? So while I appreciate Dr. DeForest, the husband-wife team saying, 1, what do we want kids to know, and 2, how are we going to assess it? There's a big piece in there that I feel is critical, and that's because my heart lies with teachers to say, what are we going to teach it? So that's the piece that I really want to encourage you to have those conversations. I was at a Parkside PLC where that happened. They looked at the data, and one teacher's scores varied from another, and the teacher said, so what'd you do? What did you do to make that happen? That's the natural, organic conversations as teachers we need to foster, and we need to appreciate, and we need to value, and we need to celebrate. When someone says, what did you do? I want to do that same thing. Or, how can I do that same thing? Can we do an instructional round? Can you come over and teach my kids? I want to see it. Or can I come and watch you teach that? Sometimes I know as teachers we get caught up. That's a week away. That was last week, girl. We already left that behind. But sometimes there's an opportunity when you're cycling back through to say, I want to come and see how you do that. Principals know they should be given time for teachers to go do instructional rounds. So you have coverage some way, some capacity. And I know that's a struggle. It's another 10, 15 minutes out of your classroom. But sometimes that 15-minute gain is huge for you to see how they respond to students, how they started a lesson, how they ended a lesson, how they had the goal, and work through that with their students. Don't miss those opportunities. When you have that, take advantage of it. Principals know that should be happening.
Okay, real quick, we're going to talk about the few strategies that we have, and then we're going to kind of take a break, process, and get some questions. So for ELA, again, constructive response. Students are writing constructive response questions. I want to reiterate that doesn't mean that once a week we're putting a passage and a constructive response question in front of them and just expecting that eventually they're going to get used to it enough to do okay. It's okay to break it down and you're just doing parts of a constructive response. It's not, we don't want it to feel like, oh, here's constructive response. We're just kind of beating a dead horse. And then this Meckens close reading strategy, again, is the other one that we are focusing on this year in 3 to 6. When you look at the resources, you'll see everything we have in there. If there are other resources that you think are necessary or that you have that you think everybody could benefit from, just shoot those to us. We can add those to the page. And like I said, hopefully we're going to continue to add videos of our own people doing these things.
Okay, and strategies for math. We didn't think that you guys probably needed strategies on how to teach addition in your classrooms, right? You probably have that down. So the strategies that we pulled were for the process standards. And process standard 1 is making sense of problems and persevering in solving them. So that's when your students are making sense of the problem and asking if it makes sense. Modeling with mathematics isn't only those math manipulatives, it's also real world problems. And then attending to precision and making sure that their answers make sense, that their explanations make sense, and that they're really attending to that precision. A use of the adopted resource GoMath, and then also during the PLC process, really working with your group to make sure the assessment vocabulary is highlighted and reviewed so your students are familiar with it, so that when testing time does come around, they aren't these new words and problems that your students have never seen before, that they have them in those common assessments. Okay, so right now, we've thrown a lot at you. We're gonna let you process. We're gonna take 10 minutes. We'll come back at 4:30-ish. Write questions down on your Post-its and we will come around and pick them up, okay? Or put them on the table. Up front on the table, sorry.